students studying Things Fall Apart, today we're going to get into an essay prompt breakdown for you. And before we do that though, I'm just going to make sure to send you over to our blog post. Over there, there's an accompanying blog post that covers the introduction to the text, historical context, themes, and a few more things to help you along your way in preparation for the SAC. So I'll link that up and above and down below. Let's get started. In Things We Fall Apart, women suffer the most and are victimized by men. Discuss. So whenever breaking down the prompt, there are a couple of things you need to look at immediately. And we've talked about this in the past in other videos before, so I'll make sure to link those videos and resources for you in the description box. But firstly, we need to look at keywords. So what are the ideas that you need to address? And also you need to consider whether or not you agree with the topic. The keywords of this prompt I've chosen are women, suffer, victimize, and men. The prompt requires us to address the role of women in the text and the ways in which they suffer in a society that is pervaded by patriarchal values. It also asks us, who is to blame? Are men solely responsible for the maltreatment of women, or are there other causes to their suffering? The word most in this prompt is actually there to give us a bit of room for discussion. So you could think, yes, women do suffer, but are they the ones who suffer the most? Or do men suffer as well? Now that you've thought about the prompt, we can move on to the second step of the think and execute technique. This is a technique I've covered in my How to Write a Killer Text Response ebook. So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about that strategy, I highly encourage you to go and check it out. Now, before we just launch straight into topic sentences, let's just make sure that we simplify things for ourselves so that it becomes much easier for us when it comes to writing the actual essay. One way to do this is to work out whether the paragraph agrees or disagrees with the prompt at hand. We can follow this structure. 1. Yes, the prompt is true because of X. 2. Yes, another reason it is true is because of X. 3. While it is true, it is limited by X. So here's my first topic sentence example. By elucidating the ways in which women are seen as inferior to their male counterparts, the writer establishes his critique on a society that victimizes and oppresses women. From the outset of the book, Okonkwo is characterized as a violent man who rules his household with a heavy hand, placing his wives in perpetual fear. The frequent beating and violence fortifies the portrayal of him as a man who is governed by his hatred of gentility and idleness, further showing the terror that his wives are forced to live in. Do what you are told, woman. When did you become one of the elders Ndichi of Umofia? I am so sorry for butchering these names. I am trying to Google how to pronounce certain names, but unfortunately YouTube isn't helping me out here with pronunciations, so please forgive me. I'm doing my best. Woo. He also sees his wife's mere act of questioning as disrespect, as evidenced through the ways in which he implies that she is overstepping her role. There were many women, but they looked on from the fringe like outsiders. This simile also shows how women are often marginalized and treated as outcasts, underlining the overarching yearning for social justice throughout the text. This pitiful image of women looking on from the fringe also helps Achebe relay his criticism of gender double standards and the unfairness that Igbo women are forced to live with. Moving on to the second paragraph. Achebe's sympathy for women's suffering and condemnation of men's mistreatment towards them is also evident through his depiction of a society that normalizes misogyny. His mother and sisters worked hard enough, but they grew women's crops. Yam, the king of crops, was a man's crops. The personification of the crops, in particular the yam being the king of crops, establishes this gender hierarchy in yet another way. More specifically, the position of men in the social hierarchy is highlighted, and the negative connotation attached to the women's crops undermine their hard work, rendering it insignificant. And to our last paragraph. While women are the main victims of Igbo gendered prejudice, Achebe does not disregard the undue burden that social expectations impose on men. He was afraid of being thought weak. Achebe explores the burdens of unrealistic expectations that are placed upon both men and women. This quote exemplifies the social expectations on men to be strong, powerful, and fearless leaders who never show emotions. Achebe's sympathies regarding these expectations show us that this is an important critique in Things Fall Apart, which we can analyze. Now, don't forget that this is only one of the ways you can analyze and break down this prompt. You are more than welcome to go off and try to come up with your own ways of tackling this prompt. Remember that in English, it's not about one right way. There's many different ways, which is what can make English difficult, but at the same time, if you can use that to your advantage, and as long as you can back up your ideas with great evidence, then you're going to be well on your way. I wanted to thank Lindsay, one of my tutors, for writing up the script for me. All my tutors are so sensational, so if you're interested in getting private tutoring, description box below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!